Hello everybody, it is Deanspillabean, back on your screen, and today I'm just going to be talking about the Dynamic Tenna Avatar project that I've been working on for the past couple days. So, a long time ago, I made a Tenna Avatar using Veadotube Mini, which is the same program that I use for my paper avatar. Whoop.
Behold, this is the original version!
The original version in question uses Veadotube Mini, and basically you can look over here on the side, you can see a bunch of different face poses. I have about, 62? But how do I get this to work, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you a little secret. It's using this handy-dandy mouse over here that's has like 12 different buttons on it. Yeah, this thing has 12 different buttons. And then, in order to get it to work, I basically have them all bound to different function keys, from function 13 to 24, and then I press Shift, Control, or Alt in different combinations in order to get specific faces. So as an example, this is my neutral pose here, where this is just my default pose that I default back to. I can press Shift, and then the default button, burp, and I can get a different pose, Alt, burp, Alt, only Control, or Shift and Control, or I don't have that one, Shift and, or Control and Alt, Control, Shift and Alt, or POW. Also, the whole thing can save GIFs as well. That was also all on one button, too. So, as you might have noticed, the amount of poses is a bit ridiculous. Yeah, it is frankly ridiculous, and even though I really do like what I've done with the program itself, I've kind of gotten to where I thought, you know what? What if I made it better? So, I decided to, not really scrap the current avatar, but make a new and better version. One that I think will be way more interesting. Just as an example, we're going to have the old with the new right next to each other. As you can see, these are the two different neutral poses, and they're entirely different. Or at least they have a different vibe. There's even one for pointing up, and you can see that there is a notable difference between, like, the quality of poses. There's also a point left. I even have it hooked up so that the mouth of the new dynamic one also extends out the more I talk. And I also have it flipped so that it works the same way, too. I even have it point at you. It's still kind of similar, but I could do some changes to it. I even have the battle mode also worked on here. The normal one for the previous version used a GIF animation that I made, whereas the dynamic version actually utilizes, or I basically imported all the frames and actually made animations for the battle pose, of which I feel like I could probably add some more details into the dynamic one at some point. I just, need to work on that. I mainly got into this project in the first place, specifically because I wanted to see if I can get Tenna as an avatar and use Tenna as an avatar for whenever I do some of my streams. Just as like a cool little puppet thing I can pull out whenever whenever I'm able to have time to do it.
I have also dabbled a wee bit into voice acting, so I believe that when I get into voice acting for Tenna, wouldn't it be really cool if I could also just play as Tenna? At least that's what I think.
I have delved a bit into voice acting. There's like a bunch of videos of mine where I actually voice a lot of Tenna.
No technical difficulties, folks! Hold on. Welcome back to another electrifying episode of TV Time!
Wait a second.
Today's board will take place in a beautiful TV city. But don't ask why the cars don't have feet. Collect 2 cues from each corner of the city, and enough already!
And, like, overall, I think Tenna's just one of my favorite Deltarune characters. And, well, I've already been delving into, like, having, like, a PNG avatar thing in the first place. And I was like, hey, look at that. Look at this guy over here. This dude that has, like, 200 different poses. Wouldn't it be, like, really cool if I had this as a functioning avatar? That's what I thought. And then, I went a little too far into it, and now I'm working on this dynamic one. You want to know how far I'm trying to go with this? Well, there's another little thing off to the side here that I probably need to get working at some point, where I need a lot of work in order to get it to work is what I'm trying to say. So, what this is supposed to do is register whenever I say the word star, and then it pops up the actual star icon whenever I say star. Of course, there's a little issue with that, especially when I want to say something else like avatar. Avatar? No. R. Better. Start. Start? Start not work anymore? What? Star. Side. Side. R. Side. R side. Tarzan. No. Star. Well, I guess it decides to work today. Whatever. I've had some difficulties trying to get this to work in that sometimes it registers other words besides the word star. And it's not exactly what I was wanting. So I need to figure out some better way. Better? Some better way? Why did that trigger there? So I need to figure out some better way in order to trigger the star icon more effectively or more efficiently. I kind of go off of a weighted system based off of like certain syllable, certain, based on certain, based on certain, based on, based, based on, based on certain, based on certain. This is the kind of insanity I put myself through in order to get this thing to work. Anyways, I probably need to delve into something like speech-to-text recognition and then check for whenever I'm saying something like star or one of the other words that I could have for any of the other funny texts that could come up. Is that actually worth it? I mean, if I could get it to work, it would be. Otherwise, it'd be kind of a weird thing. Actually, I could just kind of joke about Mike accidentally putting up star whenever I don't want it to. That'd actually be kind of funny, too. Showing off a bit of the code, I'm going to go to the neutral stance that I do. This is the default pose. Basically, I have 3 inputs from one microphone. One channel goes down this path, which dictates what kind of talking state that I will have, and it's based on how loud I am. As for the other side, there's the squish and stretch modifiers here, which, so I have a check here while I'm not talking. This is active, which actually causes him to actually wiggle a little bit. And then while I'm talking, he actually stretches around. You can see him stretching around as I'm talking. The louder I get, the stretchier he becomes. But I also have a very slight modifier also in the very middle here, which all this does is actually analyze the frequency that I'm speaking, or at least it's trying to. There's probably a better way to do it. It's just this is the way I figured out how to do it in the first place. It basically slightly adds a extra bit of squishiness in the X direction or the Y direction, depending on if it's a higher or lower frequency. I even have modifiers based on that too, where I can just like modify the stretchiness of the Y, and then depending on how much I talk, I can actually stretch upwards. I think that's just kind of like total stretchiness though. I still need to like troubleshoot how I want it. And this whole thing is pretty much what I used as a template for all of the other faces to work off of. It worked a while to make sure that this one works before I scaled it up. I won't show off all of them because I have like a whole bunch in general, but one that I do kind of want to check, and this is the recent one that I've worked on, is Freakout. I kind of want to work on this a bit more, but how I have it set up right now is there's like 80-something frames of animation split into 8 different groups at 10 frames each. So how this works is I have one counter going every 10 frames, basically representing the 10 frames, but a separate counter that actually represents the frames themselves, because I've had problems where it just didn't want to register what frame it was on. Basically, whenever the counter maxes out at 10 frames, it then triggers a latch that actually causes the counter to invert. So what ends up happening is that the number of frames that it's checking is ranging from 1 to 10 and then going back and forth. And then I have 8 different groups set up here, and they're all connected to a random number generator, and it basically dictates which of the groups get called upon first, and you can kind of see him spazzing in and out in different frames. Whenever I want to work on this a bit more specifically to make it, instead of like picking number 8 and then number 5 and then number 3, I want to see if I can make it so that it picks number 5 and then it can choose either to be number 6 or 4, as in increasing the value or decreasing the value randomly. Because in game he actually either stays on his state or kind of goes backward to state or forward to state. So I might try to see if I can modify that. But this was already a lot of work to even rig up in general. Another one I want to show off is the scared one, where I probably need to work on this a little bit more in order to dictate like what gets triggered or not. Similar template thing, it has a different scale modifier, but this is a little different because I wanted to swap between 3 different states. I could have a button somewhere that I could press to toggle between the different states, which I might do in the future. But basically how this works at the moment is that there's 3 different groups. Each of these are tied to 2 different frames, one for while being quiet and one for talking. And I have the groups set up here. Basically, I have a counter that counts up 1 every second or so, and every time that it changes over, it'll swap to a different set. I also have a check here at the top that will register if I am talking, and if I am, it'll actually stop the counter from working. But again, I could probably change this up so that I can have it bound to a toggle instead. The whole point that why I wanted to do this in the first place was I actually did want to save on buttons, because even though I have like, I think I can hold 96 different faces at any time, there was a lot of buttons that I need to press, and I've been trying to figure out if there's ways to compact a lot of the buttons. So this was kind of an example. Ah, is that a rat? I'm scared of it. Eee! I can't bear to look. Ah! One example of me trying to reduce the amount of frames required for stuff is this Cabbage Patch dance one, where basically Tenna dances way faster depending on how much I've talked within the last several seconds. For some reason, whenever I load it in, it like works at warp speed and then he kind of slows down. So the idea with this is, normally I would have like 1 button bound to having Tenna dancing in general, and then I have a couple different buttons for like how fast I want him to dance. So I wanted to link how fast he dances with how much I'm actually talking. Where you can see this smooth modifier that checks like how much I've been talking within the last several seconds, and the longer that I talk, the higher the value goes, which actually increases a multiplier down here that increases the speed at which a counter goes through all of the frames of animation, which is how it's actually able to go faster and faster the more I talk. Also, yes, I did have to bind every single frame to their own state. I figured out something that might be kind of important. Let's say if I want to do number 76, I have to make sure that whenever I toggle visibility on each of these frames, I have to clear out the visibility of other ones, because if you're not careful, you'll basically be asking the program to double check that it's hiding something that's already hidden. And apparently that causes a lot of frame rate lag. Actually, I think I'm getting a little bit of lag from him right now. Maybe even just in general, doing all this in general has been causing lag. This whole thing is actually lagging a little bit. Very little. I really need to find better ways to go through many frames of animation. As far as I know, there isn't an easy way to just like put all of the sprites into one group and then go through all of them one by one sequentially. So unless I can figure out a way to call upon a specific image each frame of animation or something like that, maybe there is a way and I just need to figure that out. Whatever. Last one I'll show off is the Happy Flower pose. This is the one that has the flower toggle, the blossom toggle, where if I press the toggle button, it'll actually toggle the blossom to blossom or unblossom, which I thought was kind of neat. This is one of my more recent ones. There is like a check here in order to see like what kind of talking state I need them to be. I actually genuinely don't need this right now, and I can actually just delete that without any hassle because I don't have any faces hooked up. That being said, do I want to hook faces up later? Maybe, and that's why I have them there in the first place. Maybe I should keep them there so I don't have to make them later. Just to show how the toggle works, it checks for the signal. If I press Alt and F14 at the same time, it checks it. Once it checks it, it starts a counter that actually basically checks if I'm releasing the button. So it only actually works after I release it. Burp, 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 burp. And then doing that will toggle the animation. I kind of want to see if I can change it at some point to be able to be on press, but that's just how I have it working at the moment. Every other time, it just doesn't work as well as I want it to, man. So at the moment, that is the Tenna Dynamic Avatar project that I have at the time being. Over time, I want to either do some streams or work on them in my own time in order to get them working. The main goal is that if I do get it working, I can play as Tenna. Just in general, I can play as Tenna in any game that I want. So if you want to see what happens whenever I get to play Tenna in any game that I want, I'm sure it'll be interesting. I can imagine playing something like Deltarune Chapter 3, playing as Tenna, and then I just play as Tenna with Tenna as Tenna. I just had a thought, maybe if I do get this working and I can figure out how to make it understand if I say like and subscribe, I can just have it like point at you and say like and subscribe, or something like that, and then the like and subscribe will come up. Kind of like how Star shows up. Yeah, like that. Thank you, Mike. Anyways, that's probably going to end the showcase of the Tenna Dynamic Avatar project for the time being. Whenever I get like more updates on this, I kind of want to just like post progress updates. I will try to do some streams eventually in order to like work on these, because I actually had a good time like streaming me working on this, just to like hang out with people while I'm working on this for several hours. That being said, I don't have any streams planned for a while because I'm taking a break. I try to do like a break from streaming every 4th week, and then stream for like 3 weeks after that. So, hello, this is a brief cut. So, when I made that recording a couple days ago, I was pretty much intending not to do any streaming. Well, that was until Fraud is starting to drop next week. I want to play Fraud at some point, next Ultra Kill update. Expect that at some point next week, not sure on the date, because they haven't actually given us a day yet. But it's someday within the next week. Whenever I make updates to this thing, I'm gonna try to, like get like a good project update. This is a pretty good stopping point for me, at least, to like show that this is kind of working. Still definitely need to work on a bunch of the poses a bit to be more either accurate or a bit more dynamic, or have more control over it, or make them not as chaotic. The whole point of this project is for me to get accustomed to Veadotube as well, so I could probably use that program for other things in the future. But anyways, that's going to be the end of this video. I'm trying to work on some other stuff for the time. Other stuff. Other stuff. This is the kind of chaos that I'm going to get into. I want to do this. I really do. I want to get the start text popping up, as well as like some of the other funny text that could come up. I just need to figure out how to, like... I need a different system than what I have over here, because it only checks for like very basic syllables, and not isn't really used for like speech recognition to the level that I'm wanting. Because otherwise I could say something like Avatar. Avatar? Avatar. Okay, cool, you don't want to show up right now, whatever. S-tar. Okay, whatever. S-tar! S-tar! S-tar? S-tar! Okay, I'm gonna stop right now. I got other stuff that I gotta do. Anyways, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that, at least some amount. And you all have a good night. See you next time.